we have our very first speaker. So Soby from SailPoint. While you come up, Soby, and I hand you the magic clicker that'll go through your slides, just a reminder, so throughout the day, every speaker has 20 minutes to impart their wisdom for you. Thanks, Soby. So it's going to be short, sharp presentations throughout the day. We'll have a break after Soby briefly, and we finish for the day around 4:30 for drinks and networking. Please go visit the Identity Technology partners out there. Stay around for a drink, network and schmooze. And of course, after that, we're actually crashing and taking over the ACS branch forum. Identity Management Day will be pushed out across Australia. So do hang around for that as well. Thanks, Soby.
Thank you. Can you all of you hear me very well? Okay. Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Identity XP, for giving this opportunity. It's a wonderful event. So the topic for today is context and dynamic policy-based identity security. Okay. So let's try to understand what is the real business challenge that we are trying to solve here. Okay. Identities are everywhere, right? You agree, right? And when we are talking about identities, there are different types of identities, right? There are employees, there are third parties, there are business partners, different types of human identities in an organization, right? When you're speaking to insurance companies, it could be agents. If you're speaking to universities, it could be staff, students, wide variety or range of human identities. The other side of the equation is there are also machine identities, right? And machine identities could be like your devices, things like laptops, servers, right? And we can also have something like OT technologies, right? Relays, switches, right? Various control system, which is running your factory floors, right? There could be other types of identities like workloads, generic accounts, service principals, which are running workloads on your infrastructure as a services like AWS, GCP, or Azure infrastructure, right? And there could be RPA systems, which are bots. These are like human types of identities, right? When you are asking insurance agents, probably bots are responding on behalf of those agents, right? They could be similar to humans. So there are a lot of types of identities in an organization, both human as well as non-human identities, which we also call it as machine identities as well. Now, what is the problem? You can see these identities have access to different types of resources in an organization. It could be applications, which is sitting on-premise as well as cloud. It could be data, which is sitting on-premise and cloud as well, right? And you can also see some of the hackers sitting there trying to get access to your applications and data. And the way they can get access to their data and application is by getting access to these identities or users, right? And they're also using AI and machine learning techniques to get access to these identities as well, right? This is the biggest problem that we are trying to solve here from an identity security perspective. I'll just give you an example. My brother-in-law, okay, he was trying to sell his car. It happened just 2 weeks back, okay? And he put that advertisement in Facebook Marketplace, unfortunately, right? Even with the number plate attached to it, right? And around 4 p.m., 4 a.m. in the night, police came to his doorstep saying that at 2 a.m., your car was used to, do some crimes in the city, right? 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., the police was in his doorstep, right? So what happened is his identity was stolen. It was stolen from Facebook, right? Somebody has the same car. He just had this number plate, which was posted in Facebook. He duplicated it and used the same car for doing some crime in the city, right? So you can understand, securing your identity is very critical for any organizations, right? Because it can cause you reputational problems or financial problems as well. Okay, so that's a problem that we are trying to solve here, right? And now, how can we solve this? Okay, before going to the next step, let's start with the foundation, right? I think the first thing what you should do is you should build that foundation of your identity, right? And how do you do that? And you should have every information about your users, your identities within the organization, within the platform, right? So how you could do it is identify all the sources of your identity, right? For employees, it could be a HR system. For your contractors, it could be a contractor management system. There could be different sources, right? You bring in those identities into the platform, establish a relationship between those identities and the application and the data access they have within the organization, right? And start building that context around that identity. When you look at that identity, you should know who are the users, what are the different accesses they have within the organization, not just at application level, but also at data level, right? That's the first step that you should do. You should build that identity context, that rich context about your identity, right? That's what we call it as building foundation, right? Before you start building a home, right? Think about it. You want to build a very big, good home. You should have a very strong foundation, right? You should do your plumbing right. You should do your electrical work that right. So that what I'm saying is, before you start building a great cybersecurity program for your organization, make your foundation right, because everything is going to be revolving around identities within the organization, right? So that should be a first step. Build that foundation. At any point of time, you should have that visibility on who are the users, what are the different accesses they have within the organization. That's the first step. Okay. Now, the second thing I always tell customers is integrate, 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 right? So the way you can build that foundation is, the only way is you should start talking to other applications and other security programs within an organization, right? So you look at it, your organization may be running different types of programs, right? Whether it could be a SIEM program, whether it could be a GRC program, whether it could be an SSO program, whether it could be a privileged access management program, or whether it could be a user entity behavior analytics program, right? But the one thing is, the foundation to all these programs is identity, right? So your identity security is sitting in the center of your organization, making sure that it can provide all the identity contexts that are required across all these cybersecurity solutions, right? And think about a situation where these programs are exchanging information between each other, right? For example, as a user, I log in from a blacklisted country, right? And my SSO program understand that, okay, this person is logging in from a blacklisted country and sharing that signal to the identity security platform to trigger certain governance actions. For example, go and disable his accounts, right? Or trigger an access certification for this user, right? And there is a program sitting there running called User Entity Behavior Analytics Program. What it's doing, it's collecting the information of the user from different endpoints and trying to understand the risk score of a user. What about that program needs some context about the identity? The identity security program can share that information into your UUBA program, right? So that's where you should take identity program to the next level, right? You are not just talking about creating users or disabling users or managing users. We are talking about all these security solutions working together to provide a holistic security program for your organization. Start integrating, integrate, 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 right? Now, I'll just give you an example. Okay, this is one of the classic examples where all these solutions are working together, right? And here you can see there is an Active Directory, there is identity security platform, there is a user entity behavior analytics platform, there is a DLP solution, right? All working together, right? Just at a very high level, what I want to say here is, let's say if I'm a very good friend of an Active Directory administrator within your organization, I tell my friend, hey, dear friend, can you please add me to one of the domain administrators group within Active Directory? He goes and add you there, right? So your identity security platform will understand, okay, this person was given an access through the back door. It understands that, and it shares that information with the UBA program, User Entity Behavior Analytics program, right? So when it's shared, your EUBA program will raise the risk score of a user to a certain level, for example, right? And now let's say with that risk, the user try to access certain sensitive file within the organization from a SharePoint Online or a OneDrive or a Dropbox, right? So what will happen is your EUBA program will again raise the risk score of the user to some other number. At that time, the DLP will tell that, okay, you're trying to access a sensitive information, so I'm going to block your access or whatever, right? And then the next step is this user try to upload this sensitive file to Dropbox. So immediately your DLP will encrypt the file, right? So that's what it's happening. And ultimately, if someone is trying to send this email, right, the DLP will block it, right? So you can see that how information is exchanged between different types of security solution. But identity context is very critical. That's what I'm trying to say, right? It should start sharing the signals between each other. Again, identity security is not just about, provisioning, deprovisioning, etc. It's all about exchanging information and taking your identity security to the next level, right? Now, I also want to talk about another concept of dynamic access control, okay? If you look at the organizations, and I was reading one article and it's saying maybe 5 or 10 years from now, the people will be doing different jobs, okay? For example, I'm an IT person, right? Maybe after 5 years, the first half I may be doing IT, the second half I may be doing finance, we never know, right? So especially if you look at it in different sectors, especially in healthcare sector, retail sector, and federal government sectors, people are doing multiple jobs, okay? If you look at one of the example, a medical staff, right? He may have access to different applications within the organization, but his access will have multiple dimensions, right? His access to different systems can change based on different factors. Probably it could be based on his job title, could be based on the shift he is working on. Maybe if he's working in morning shift, his access could be different. If he's working from in the evening shift, his access could be different. If he's working for pediatric department, his access could be different. If he's working for some other department, maybe a different set of accesses. Things can change based on all these dimensions, right? So how do we make sure that users get right access based on the dimensions here working on, right? That's very important. That's where the world is moving towards, right? Over a period of time, it's going to be dynamic. It's not going to be static anymore. How do you do that, right? One of the classic example here, right? Your identity security platform could become a policy engine for you, right? For example, based on the information it's capturing from different systems, right? One of the example here is, okay, a medical staff, did he complete his training, right? Or, does he have access to some sensitive information within the network, okay? Is he trying to access this particular application from Melbourne location, right? Does he belongs to pediatric department, right? Did he access a particular critical medical application from a blacklisted country, which could be an information that is coming from an SSO engine? Did he do some activities in a core medical application, EMR application? That could be an information that is coming from an SIEM platform, right? So you can see here how information is exchanged at runtime to drive the accesses for the users based on different conditions and different dimensions, right? That's where the world is going toward. That's where it is going towards, right? And you can see here, there are certain accesses they're doing, right? If you look at numbers 7, 8, and 9, based on the policies that are set within identity security platform, right? It is driving the access decisions for the user, right? So now, at a very high level, right? Identity security, it's all about providing a complete visibility into who is having access to what. It's all about building that foundation, right? On who is having access to what and whether those accesses are appropriate or not. The only way that you can do it by doing integrations, right? Integrate and make it as part of your cybersecurity landscape. Before building your house, make sure that your foundation is right. You have the right context in your identity. That's very, very critical, right? And third part is, embark on this dynamic access policy based, right? Access policy based, programs, right? Because the user needs to have right access for the right period of time, not less, not more, right? So with that note, I'll take a pause here and open the forum for any questions if you have. Go for it. Any questions? Oh, good, because I have correct 4 minutes left. All good? Otherwise, I'll be forced to talk a dad joke. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you see as being the challenges for using AI to make these sort of dynamic decisions?
You mean the challenges?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a challenge. It's basically helping humans to take. AI is meant for helping humans to make right decisions in an identity governance program, right? Of course, in order to give that right decisions and recommendation, you need to have right data that needs to be fed into the platform, right? But again, AI will continuously look at the data, right? It's not a one-time process. You can keep on feeding the AI engine with the data that's coming from different systems so that, yeah, but initially you may not get the right data or right recommendation from a governance perspective, but over a period of time, it's going to improve, right? Because what we have seen is, especially in the identity governance program, we are moving towards moving from an augmented mode of identities to an autonomous mode of identity. And it's not a one-time process. It goes over a period of time, right? So I would say data, right, could be only the challenge, right? Otherwise, human doesn't have to interact. It's an automated process on calculating these AI decisions. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. That's
Yeah.
the challenge I see is the, rubbish in, rubbish out.
Yeah.
So we're, in a practical sense, most organizations are not dealing with the right data. We're not training our AI on the right decisions.
Yeah.
So how do we get to that point? I think your answer around still augmenting it with real people making the decisions.
Yeah.
And maybe in time you'll get to the point.
Absolutely. I think that's what you're saying, right? First step is augmenting, right? You also give a humans to take part in the decision making, right? And you clean it up. And over a period of time, when you make sure that you've cleaned it up, you've reached certain maturity level, you can hand over some of the decisions to AI, take certain automatic decisions or provisioning decisions. That's possible.
Thanks, Soby.
Yeah, no worries. Yes, Mike.
Thank you. I'm interested in how you collect these data, especially in an enterprise scale. Those data are scattered in very different systems. So you have HR systems, you've got CRM systems, and your identity system will have some data, and your application will have some of these data as well.
Yeah.
So how do you get these data and orchestrate these and put them in together, and who's the source of the truth?
Okay, it's a very good question, right? So for bringing the data into the identity security platform, typically there are two types of sources, okay? One is trusted source and other one is target source, right? So trusted source would mean the source of your identities, right? Employees, contractors, business partners. When they get onboarded, we look at employees, right? When they get onboarded, what is the starting point? HR system, right? So that's called trusted source. And we bring in those users into the platform. Then we connect to the other target sources like Active Directory or ERP systems and correlate these identities to the application accounts they have, right? So typically, for an identity governance program to be successful, you should have built-in integrations into these applications, right? That's very important, right? A good identity security platform should have out-of-the-box connectors for all your enterprise-wide applications, right? So that you don't have to build those integrations. You just go to this identity security platform, configure them. You're ready to collect the data, push and pull data across these applications. So connectors is the short answers, integrations, right? So you go and do a bit of research. Very good identity security platform will have the most number of integrations and connectors. Yeah. Any other questions? All good? Am I in time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Soby.
Okay.